retard. His IQ was super low, and I think they were picking on a retard here, which was a smart move on the cops' part. But as far as like these guys, what a bunch of dicks! They just drug a retard into this with them, and then got him stuck in jail for the rest of his not the rest of his life because he's getting out in a couple months, but pretty bad. Thomas Cocorellis confessed that he and the others had taken women back to Geck's place in what Geck called a satanic chapel, which was, again, in the attic. We talked about that earlier. There they had raped and tortured the women, amputated their breasts with a wire, and then Cocorellis went on to say that they would eat parts of the severed breasts as kind of a sacrament, and that Geck would masturbate into the breasts before putting them in a box. See, I thought they all masturbated on them, but I guess it was just Geck. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, Cocorellis claimed that he once saw 15 breasts in the box. So, if they're only removing the left breast, I know they fucked up the right breast sometimes, that means they killed at least 15 women? Because as far as I know, they had 18 victims, but I mean, it's unverified, really, because Geck won't admit to anything. He was just like Manson. Right, Blake?
Yeah, he wouldn't admit to anything. It seems like to me they were only ever tried for 8 of the murders.
Yeah. I mean, because, okay, look, as a prosecutor, as a DA, you got to go with the ones that you're definitely going to be able to pin on somebody. Otherwise, you're wasting your fucking time. I get it. So it is what it is. But anyway, the Cocorellis brothers and Spreitzer confessed to their crimes, but Geck, to this day, protested his innocence. And after a series of trials, Thomas Cocorellis was convicted of murder, but only sentenced to life imprisonment as his reward for his initial confession. And again, he's getting out at the end of March for parole. And he'll be like 61 at the time, somewhere around there. And he was scheduled to be released on September 29, 2017, but his parole was denied by Illinois officials. His current release date is September 30th, 2020, but I think that's changed to March now. But anyway, he's currently located in the Illinois River Correctional Center, and Geck is serving 120 years, which we'll never see that fucker get out, in the Menard Correctional Center for the attempted murder and rape of Beverly Washington, and will be eligible for parole in 2022. He ain't getting out, so he can get over that shit. Andrew Cocorellis was sentenced to death and was executed by lethal injection on March 16, 1999. So he and Gacy had that connection, whereas Geck and Gacy have the connection where Geck actually worked for Gacy, as we talked about earlier. Now, Spreitzer, he was sentenced to death, but the sentence was commuted, and again, as Ray mentioned earlier, George H. Ryan's last-minute commutation of all death sentences in Illinois in 2003. Andrew Cocorellis was Governor Ryan's only execution just over 2 months into his administration. Cocorellis was also the last inmate executed in Illinois almost 12 years before Governor Pat Quinn signed legislation to abolish the death penalty on March 9, 2011, and commuted 15 death sentences to life imprisonment without parole. You know, these people that fucking sign things to abolish the death penalty, they should have to pay the majority of the cost of them being in prison. What do you think about that, fellas? If they don't want them dead, they should have to pay for them. Just saying. Fair.
I agree.
Maybe they should have to stay at their house.
Yeah, like, saving life in prison is dumb. If you're getting life, you might as well just kill a motherfucker.
Yeah, why am I paying for this dickhead?
Yeah, like, what's the point of keeping them alive at that point, in my opinion? I don't get it.
Especially these two retards that aren't telling you anything. Thomas Cocorellis, you're not going to learn anything about him other than he's stupid. Good luck. And then Spreitzer, I don't know. I mean, he was like, he was just a patsy. Who gives a fuck about these guys? Geck would be great, but he's not stupid enough to talk. So he needs to die too. But, they were never able to actually pin the main crimes on him, so that's the problem. But anyway, the Orthodox Church actually attempted, because the Cocorellis brothers were raised Greek Orthodox, they tried to keep Andrew Cocorellis from being executed. They failed, which I thought was funny because, like, their chancellor, Demetrius Kantsouvelis, who later became a bishop of the Greek Orthodox Diocese of Chicago. He was an anti-death penalty activist, and as a result of the execution, he helped lobby in favor of ending the death penalty in the state. Fuck you, Illinois. You fucked up. You should. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine this, Vic and Blake? If the death, okay, so if Gacy were arrested in 2012, let's say, this motherfucker would just have life in prison. There's something about that just feels wrong, you know? Really wrong.
Sure. It don't make any sense to me.
Look, Kevin and I have talked about this in the past. If you killed somebody because your wife was cheating on you, you know, and you caught them in the act and you kill them, cool, life in prison, whatever. I get it. That's a crime of passion. But doing the things that these sick fucks did, you don't need to be walking around. You don't need to be alive. The Manson family, I felt the same way about. Every one of those fuckers should have been eliminated. I know a lot of people would disagree with me about that because they feel bad for these chicks. Fuck them. If you don't have a brain to think for yourself, you don't need to be out in public anyway. So, just my opinion. You know, I don't think much about followers, Vic. I'm just saying.
Yes, sir. But it's always good to have followers. You feel me?
True. That's different.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Blake.
Hey, by the way, can I just tell y'all real quick? Villa Park, Illinois is a fucking shithole. That's where GCW used to run. I've been there twice, and it's a motherfucking shithole. So I'm not surprised if they did some of their work there.
It's not surprising. That's where Ray did his fucking work. I mean, that's where he one of the places he controlled.
Like I didn't realize that until this show. Like that is it is a fucking dump. So I'm not surprised by any of this anymore.
Remember when we went to Dragon Gate, Chicago? The entire place was a dump.
Yeah, well, I mean Chicago's a dump. I don't like Chicago. It's probably my least favorite city in the world. No offense, Ray. I love you, but fuck Chicago. But like it's all a dump. It's horrible. I mean, there's a reason why all they do is kill each other.
Well, I like Chicago, but not when I'm there.
Yeah. I like talking about Chicago. Is that better?
It's like my feelings about Philadelphia. I like Philadelphia until I'm there, and then I fucking hate myself for being there. So, yeah.
I like Philadelphia because of their cheap thing.
Understood. And because of corporate office that has to do that.
Yes. I mean, I gotta like it because of that, right? Hello? Hello?
Well, here, I don't know where Travis went.
I thought it was for a minute. So what's up, Blake?
Hang on, I can hear you.
Okay.
Just a second, my fucking microphone got unplugged. God, I sound like a fucking retard now. Are you guys there?
Yep.
Sorry about that. Anyway, I was like talking to nobody because my fucking mic got disconnected. Anyway, fellas, so we've talked about Andre Chikatilo, Albert Fish. Blake, you've been on for both of those. I know Vic wasn't on for the Fish one, and he was sort of on for the Chikatilo one, I think.
I think it was freaking that night.
Oh, okay. And, we've talked about Gacy. That was pre-Blake on the podcast. I can't think of anybody too much more sick. What do you think about the Chicago Rippers in comparison to who we've talked about in the past? Are they the most sick we've talked about?
Whenever I was looking through like all the Chicago crimes, whatever, like they stuck out to me as being just fucking nutty, and that's why I chose them. And yeah, they are beyond the sickest people we've ever talked about. Like the shit they did, the fucking like everything. It pushes the whole group, which I kind of dug as well. But yeah, I think they're beyond the sickest we've talked about.
I mean, they were fucking women's. They would. I mean, Blake, I'll let you elaborate on some of the things you talked about earlier. I know it's gonna. I know Blake. I'm gonna let Blake elaborate on some of the sick shit he was talking about earlier. But I mean, they were jacking off on women's breasts that were severed. They were fucking the holes where they cut the breast off. Fucking the holes in the women, not their pussy, not their ass. I mean, this was, again, some of the sickest shit I've ever heard of. And there was cannibalism involved, even if it wasn't for, like, because they were, I don't even know why. I mean, I get it, but it's fucking weird.
Apparently the 3 holes are born with wasn't enough. They had to make more.
Yeah. Just, Jesus Christ. All right, Blake, I'll let you elaborate on some of the sick shit they did and that you kind of were gassed at like I was.
There's no need for me to elaborate on it. This is probably one of the more difficult shows I think I've ever had to do to talk about something like that, because it really is just deplorable. Like, there's no other way to put it. It was awful. It's so bad that I don't think there's anybody else that could take that title, except for maybe like Albert Fish with the hurting of the children.
Because the kids, yeah.
Yeah, but those two, I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I was watching the investigation where they discussed some of the things they found with the bodies and injuries that have been done to them. I'm not going to go into any more than that, but there's a documentary that's on YouTube called Occult Crimes that discusses the Chicago Rippers, and if you haven't watched it and you want to hear the details of it and see how these police detectives react to it, having to recount it all these years later, you'll be able to see that it still haunts them to this day, and it left a mark on them that will never be able to be erased. It'll never be removed, and it's one of the sickest, most horrifying displays of violence, and that I've heard of for a smaller, for a group of killers that probably the press should have probably right. But there were a whole lot of things happening. You had the Atlanta child murders. You had the last of Gacy stuff being, taken care of. And then to make matters worse, Sweet Frank, the police kept her part of
Yeah. Well, so Vic, I'm going to ask you a question just because I'm curious. They call it a satanic cult. It's pretty clear that the violence was against women. Do you buy the cult angle, or do you think this is just a hatred for women? I mean, at least as far as Gex goes, the other ones were just fucking stupid followers.
No, man. It takes a lot for me to really buy into the whole people being satanic bullshit, because I know real Satanists, and it's not about the violence. You know what I'm saying? It's about not believing in the same thing you believe in. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think,
and I agree.
A lot of people use the Satanist or the cult thing as a scapegoat to try to do bad shit, or you're just a horrible person. You just want, exactly. You're just a horrible person. You want to do horrible shit, and you hate females, you hate hookers, you hate whatever, and you just want to do whatever you can, and you just try to throw that label on it to try to make it seem like, oh, you're doing it for a greater power. You ain't doing it for shit except for to get your rocks off, because you like using in fucking man-made holes, apparently.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, look, I'm sure that I don't buy this Satanist